that's the, still got my ultra monitor on. Numbers 21, on the way to Canaan. And I gave you a little map. You can pull that out. We'll go over it briefly here. They were, and it's kind of hard to see because some of the writing is in yellow. That's a little light. But we're kind of dealing with the area where it says on the right side of this is the Red Sea down here, and these are the two branches that go up. Right here, Ezion Geber. Okay, that's kind of from here up until this Mount Hor. That's where we're at. And we're going to be talking about it down here and then all this area up in here. And basically, it's east of the Jordan River. The Jordan River comes down from the bottom of the Dead Sea. It doesn't really go too much anywhere, but the Jordan River drains into the Dead Sea, which is up here. But if you just continue that on down here, there's other rivers, and they are actually flowing into the Dead Sea, the Zered River and the Arnon River, and we'll read about those tonight. So this is kind of where we're talking about on this upper side of where the children of Israel will be at. And when King Herod, this is verse 1 through 3, the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners. And Israel vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if thou wilt indeed deliver this people into my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel, and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And he called the name of the place Hormah. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit, because it's going to run until I'll turn it back down to follow the deal. So Darla kind of asked a question. They are in their Sunday school lesson, they're talking about Abram and Lot. And I did not bring that tonight. I should have brought it. But she's asking where all these ites come from. Canaanites, Midianites, Edomites. Well, the Moabites and the Edomites came from Esau.
From where?
Esau. Okay, Isaac and Esau, remember, it's Jacob and Esau. The lineage of Abraham came down through Jacob.
Well, they sure like that kind of name.
And the others, Esau's children and grandchildren and all that out there, it broke up somewhere down there, and I believe, like I said, my mind's not quite as great, but it had Moabites and Edomites. Okay, because that was the two groups. And then the rest of them can be lumped to Canaanites. Okay, it talks about this guy, Herod the Canaanite. Canaan, do you remember where that story came from? Remember the three brothers that survived on Noah's Ark?
Oh.
Okay, one of them was Ham, one of them was Shem, another was Japheth. Ham, the middle son, was the one that defiled his father. His grandson was Canaan. So that's where all the Canaanites come from. And that's the rest of them. The Amorites, all of them, but the Amorites and there's a whole bunch of Izzites out there. And so that's where these people, they're all from Noah. Okay? Noah, there's just 8 people on the earth, but now they've broken down after so many hundreds and thousands of years into these different groups that's fighting one another as these different ones. And the Canaanites are along this side, you can see right here, Kenites, Amalekites, Edomites, Moabites, Amorites, all up and down this side where we're seeing, and they're in green if you want to see those numbers, those letters. There's a whole bunch of the ites there. And Isaac or Israel is going to have to fight these people because they have this land, and this land is what God promised them. Now, one of them, he said, don't mess with the Moabites. Okay? We remember just last week, or 2 weeks ago, Moses asked the Moabites if they could go across and go through their territory going to Canaan. They told him no. But they just brought out their army and kind of set them up on the hill and said, no, you're not coming through. Well, tonight, there are going to be some others that do that, but they come and they attack them. They don't just, force them off the way. So that'll play a part here in just a minute.
What we're talking about, Lenny. Ishmael.
Mm-hmm. He's another. Ishmaelites, yeah.
Okay. Some of his family are the heirs, right?
Right. They're predominantly, and here again, they are from Abraham. So it's a little bit further down from Canaan. But yeah, they are from Abraham. And they are closer, I guess, if you want to say it that way, than some of the others are. And God, he tells them, we see in reading these verses and reading through the scriptures, God says, these are still kind of part of your brothers. Don't mess with them. And they, for the most part, don't. But we see later on in history, sometimes they do. And they got spanked because they had God said, no, because you did this, and I told you not to. Suffer the consequences. So this was a new generation, all the people that had came up to this area to begin with has died off, the 38 plus years, 40 years total. And they're gone. So this is a new generation that came up to Canaan, get ready to go into the Canaan land. And they encountered their first army, the hostile army. Now these guys, if you want to say it this way, the commentators do, I don't know, I think it would be true. God led them into, it's kind of like, you guys aren't sports fans, but Brother Epperson will realize that. It's when OU goes and plays, they go out and play the easy guys the first 3 or 4 weeks. So they can beat up on them and get a little confidence.
Yeah.
Well, that's what but God kind of does that too. He's given these the easy ones, the easy people they can fight over and they can beat up.
Practice.
Kind of practice to get them strength and get them, finish it. You can practice a lot, but until you do it under duress, when it's actually happening, then you know what's going to go on. So they fought against Israel, and they took some of the Israelites prisoners. So when they lost them, then Israel vowed to God that they will utterly destroy the cities of Arad. And that's what God told them to do. It's kind of like the first sacrifice. And kind of like we studied a few weeks ago. This is a burnt offering. They burn everything up. They don't keep anything. This city, it's like if you're going to go and demolish a country, you don't really want to demolish the buildings because you can use those buildings. You just want to get rid of the people. But that's here, God said, no, you don't want to even use those cities. Don't use any of the cities. Don't take any of their spoils. Don't take any of their animals. Don't take any of their money. Just, take care of it. And it was kind of devoted to God for that purpose. And that's what it says, I will utterly destroy these cities, and the Lord hearkened to the voice of Israel because of that. Because they're going to do this. And now, most time you fight a war, the country's back there, or whoever it was, the king or whatever, he had to pay those guys. And most time he said, well, whatever you get, plunder all you want, take all you want from the people there. And then that's your compensation. Well, here there would be no compensation. They're doing this for God. They're taking the land. God gave it to them. Now, we could do a bunch of what-if games. If they'd done this the first time, God may have went ahead and let them have everything. But I don't think so. There are several cities God tells them later on, just destroy. Don't even take one sheep out of their, the animals or anything like that. Said it's a strange idea to our way of thinking, but Israel at this time would show that property was completely given to God by destroying it, thus making it unusable to anyone else. It was expensive and wholehearted way to give things to the Lord, but this is Israel's way of saying, we're not fighting this battle for our own profit, but for the glory of God. Okay, Brother Epperson, on the next page, 4 and 5.
And they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to compass the land of Edom. And the soul of the people were much discouraged because of the way. And the people spake against God and against Moses, wherefore have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness, where there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loath is like bread.
Okay, now if you look up there, over on that right side, where that red line goes up and curls around that Mount Hor, then that's where they were at. But because they had to go, Moabites wouldn't give them the way through, they had to go back down towards the Red Sea. That's why there's a little loop there. And then go underneath them and come around on the back side or on the east side. That's what they're going to do. And that it's like the people's like, well, we just came this way. Why do we have to go this? And they just get all upset and everything. And this is now not the old people because they died. The older people, these are the younger ones that are saying that. And one of the things, they said, just like their fathers, you brought us out of Egypt to die in this wilderness? Because that's why they didn't want them to come this way. It's a wilderness. There's not near as much there. And they were still getting manna, still being fed. They'd fed 38 years, 40 years. God provided for them. And now they don't like this light bread.
It seemed to me like they never knew how to quit complaining.
Well, they didn't. They just kept complaining, kept complaining, kept complaining. So, because of this, they were continuing in their father's footsteps. The people spoke against God and against Moses. God intervened on, in this behalf. Iris, next page, 3 there at the top, number 6.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died.
Okay, now they've gone all this time, 40 years, in a wilderness. Go outside the door here and see how many insects and stuff jump on you, wild animals, dogs, a bunch of chickens that get at your back here. No. But God provided them and helped them. All that stayed away from them, for the most part. Shoes didn't wear out, clothes didn't wear out. But now, God said, okay, I've had enough of this. You think you've got it tough? Let you fight the animals a little bit. And these fiery serpents started coming out. Now, we don't know exactly what they were. Fiery may indicate red. May indicate when they bit you, their skin turned red. I don't know. But they died. Many people died in Israel because of this. Because of their not believing in God, not trusting in what God wanted them to do.
It's crazy.
Well, there's a lot of things.
Because they kept complaining all the time.
Right. If I go out there and tell you the sky is green, and I keep telling you that over and over, and I can get other people to believe that, soon you'll think you're believing, you must be wrong. And that's what happens. And that's what Satan does to us. He keeps saying the same thing over and over and over to us, and we just got to be prepared for that and realize what God has told us and stand on what God's delivered to us. Okay, Ruby, 7 and 9 there in the bottom of that page.
Therefore the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against thee. Pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, make three a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looked upon it, shall live. And Moses made a serpent of brass, and put it on a pole. And it came to pass that as the serpent has bitten any man, then he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived.
Okay. So it's interesting. Huh?
Was that a way of worshiping the serpent?
No, we're going to talk about that a little bit. It's telling them, first of all, the people came this time to Moses and told them we've sinned. Okay, before Moses had kind of intervened for the people on these things. And God said, let me destroy them, let me do all these things and other. So the people came to Moses and told them, they admitted, okay, we've sinned. We did all this, and we've spoken against the Lord. Take the serpents away. Have God take these serpents away. He didn't do that, did he? He left the serpents, but he gave them a way to not die. It's kind of like you got to take your lickings, but you're not going to die. So he gave them an out.
Wasn't it a teaching lesson too?
It was trying to teach them you need to trust God. Okay, and all you have to do is look here upon the representation of what he set up. Now, there's a couple of things. Typically, serpents are evil in the Bible. I mean, the first serpent, of course. And then other serpents, it says Jesus is going to crush his head, things like that. But they said this was a bronze serpent. He made it out of bronze. And bronze is I'd say a good thing. It's made, it's not to be worshipped, but it's something to, it's a positive. It's not a negative.
Wasn't, can we go back a little bit to Moses? Wasn't it when he was on the mountain, they made an idol?
They did make an idol, and they worshipped that idol.
They worshiped and that angered Moses.
Yeah, but that was gold. They made that out of gold.
Okay. And so now they made another, but
they didn't. God told Moses to make a fiery serpent and set it upon a pit. So whatever it was like, he told them to make one like that, but make it out of brass, bronze, brass, and put it upon a pole. Okay? You got a pole up here, but how are you going to put that snake up there? Snake will just fall on it. It's a straight pole. What if it has a T in it across it, so the snake can go up and around and kind of hang on that? And then it comes down and loops around at the bottom. That's a symbol today for something that you know very well. And medical, exactly. That's the medical. Here again, that's what's represented.
To me, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but this was a representation, and they do that, I think, all the way back because this was
why does that represent medical?
This is a healing. Okay, because here they were healed when they looked at them. They didn't have to go touch it. They didn't have to pray to it. All they had to do is look upon it. But the people that sinned had to, if they got bit, they had to look at it. So they had to pull themselves to a place. Now it was set up high where they could see it, but they had to get to some place in there. 2.5 million people, or more now, maybe 5 million people, all around. But they had to go look upon this serpent. And because because it's a representation. Now, later on in history, they do start worshiping it. And we'll read about that in just a minute.
And today's, when you see them on doctor's office, I still don't understand why they feel like they need to have it on their office.
Well, it goes all the way back to one of the whoever's Hippocrates. Okay, that was their symbol for health because is what I understood. And I guess it goes even back to this time because as the people looked upon it, they were healed. So it's a healing symbol.
At least I understand a bit better now. To me, that made no sense.
Yeah.
Every time we see one.
Well, again, I was thinking a while ago, we said here, it's a type and shadow of Christ.
Exactly, because that's a cross. And he was lifted up on the cross, and they said, if you will just look upon the cross, look upon me, that's what Jesus said.
Yes.
Follow me, and then that will save you, that will heal you from your sins. So it's very much like that, a type and a shadow.
Makes sense now.
So Moses made the serpent. He said he commanded to make an image of the serpent, even though such images were seemingly forbidden. Back in Exodus 20 and 4. It says, though, forbids the making of idols. And this was not an idol. It was a symbol sanctioned by God that they could look to in faith and be saved. Again, it's a challenge for the Israelites because they came out of idol worship. Don't worship it. Look at it. You can be healed, but don't worship it. It's not. God is the one that provided that healing. Later on, like it says down here in 2 Kings 18 and 4, King Hezekiah, it says he broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made, for until those days the children of Israel burned incense to it and called it Nehushtan. So they started worshiping it. And because they started worshiping it, King Hezekiah actually broke it up. So it survived many, many years from Moses. They kept that. But they wanted to use it as an idol. Okay? So it's something that God did not take away the serpents. The serpents were still there. I don't know how long afterwards they kept going, but that was something for them to remember by. All they had to do was look upon that. Okay, I'm going to read the next one at the top of page 6. There's several verses. And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in Oboth. And they journeyed from Oboth and pitched at Jerabeam in the wilderness which is before Moab, toward the sunrising, toward the east. From thence they removed and pitched in the valley of Zared. From thence they removed and pitched on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that cometh out of the coast of the Amorites. For Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Wherefore it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, what he did in the Red Sea and in the brooks of Anon, and at the stream of the brooks that goeth down to the dwelling of Ar, and lieth upon the border of Moab. And from thence they went to Beer, that is the well whereof the Lord spake unto Moses, gather the people together, and I will give them water. Then Israel sang this song, Spring up, O well, sing ye unto it. The princes dig the well, the nobles of the people digged it by the direction of the lawgiver with their staves, their posts that they had, staffs. And from the wilderness then they went to Matan, and from Matan to Nahil, and from Nahil to Bamoth, and from Bamoth in the valley that is in the country of Moab to the top of Pisgah, which looketh down toward Jeshimon. Okay? Now, you'll find some of those on the map, and it's see the river. It said river of Arnon and the river of what was the other one there? Those two rivers that come up, Zared, I think it is, they're at, yeah, they're at the top. So they're traveling in this area, up on the east side, okay, of the Jordan area. They're east of the Moabites. In between the north and the south, the Moabites were kind of up the north, the Amorites down the south. So this was an area that nobody lived in that they could stay in, because Moabites didn't want them going that way. So it has several stops in there, and we're not given the names. I mean, we don't know exactly where those are at, but it's in that area as they travel. It kind of goes down they jumped from the Red Sea all the way up to here. Well, that took them time, but then when they get up here, they give us detailed, where they went from here to here to here. It's kind of like going to Oklahoma City. Well, I got to go to Stroud, I got to go to Bristow, I got to go, Shawnee, and then finally I get to Oklahoma City. So they moved and they camped these different areas, and then they called a book of wars, okay? And that's coming up. If you want to, some of the Judges, the book that they have that Joshua does, where they do a lot of the wars, there was evidently another book they kept, the Book of Wars. We know of some of them, but we don't know of all of them. Okay, Bertha, read the next on page 7, 21 through 23.
And Israel sent messages unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, let me pass through thy land. We will not turn into the fields or into the vineyards. We will not drink of the waters of the well, but we will go along by the king's highway until we passed thy borders. And Sihon would not suffer Israel to pass through his border, but Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness. And he came to Jaz.
Good enough.
Thank you. That fought against Israel.
Okay, so this is just like the Moabites, only the Moabites came out and they had a show of force, but they didn't fight them. Here, it says that Sihon and the Amorites, they fought against Israel. Okay? So they didn't want them coming out because, one, they were a big army, scared them again, and they thought, well, we can take them, we'll just scare them out and not keep them. Now, some of this area says the incident's even more interesting when we consider Deuteronomy 2 and 30. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through, for the Lord your God hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him into your hand. So God hardened the heart of Sihon so he would provoke the battle, so he would lose, so Israel could gain his land. Okay, the Amorites took this from the Moabites. If you go back in history, this area. And because of that, it was okay. God didn't say, he did say, don't take the area of the Moabites, but this had been done a long time before. So they fought these people and they won. And God permitted them to go ahead and take that land.
What land did Israel, Jacob, what land did they have before they went to Egypt?
They were down in this area. There's Beersheba, and Beersheba's talked about the well of Jacob. That's up even higher. It's up higher than Bethel. It's a little bit higher up there. It's in Samaria. So they were up in this area around Jerusalem and around in this southern portion of
So
Judah.
really the land they got is the land that, ended up.
It was theirs. Exactly. It was theirs. God gave it to them. And if you go all the way back before, what he promised Abraham, it even goes further beyond. It goes out further east and further south. It's part of Egypt and part of Jordan and part of all that. that's what they will possess soon in the last days. Israel's going to be a bigger country whenever that comes about.
I found it interesting that they, although they promised not to do any damage of any kind or use any of their land for any reason, they still were not allowed to pounce.
Well, got 2.5 million people going to come through this area, through Dawson, and you think they're going to leave it the way they?
Well,
Probably
look
not.
at the border.
Exactly. Well, some of the trash and all that stuff that they bring forth, you look down there, and it's just, they have to live, and they don't have anywhere to throw it, so they throw it there.
But when we read this, it seems like God, but some of these, they did child, they were wicked people.
Oh yeah, there's
They were
slavery and
wicked
everything.
people.
Yeah.
And like you said, I was listening to somebody, but, they talk about killing the babies. Well, they go to be with the Lord.
Right. They're not suffering after that for them, but it's still not great. Okay, top of page 8, we continue on. And Israel smote with the edge of the sword and possessed his land from Arnon unto Jabbok, even unto the children of Ammon. For the border of the children of Ammon was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all these cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon and all the villages thereof. For Heshbon was the city of Zion, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, even unto Arnon. Wherefore they speak in Proverbs, say, Come unto Heshbon, let the city of Zion be built and prepared. For there is a fire gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It hath consumed Ar of Moab, and the lords of the high places of Arnon. Woe to thee, Moab, thou art undone, O people of Chemosh. He hath given his sons that escaped and his daughters into captivity unto Sihon, king of the Amorites. We have shot at them. Heshbon is perished even unto Dibon, and we have laid them waste, even into Nophah, which reacheth unto Mediathah. Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and Moses sent to spy out Jazer, and they took the villages thereof and drove out the Amorites that were there. So go ahead and look. See at the top, this is the Dead Sea right here, kind of at the top of that red line. There's two blue lines that go across. That's the two rivers, the Arnon River and the Zerog River. The Amorites at the top, they had captured part of the Moabites area, so they captured all that. I had another map that showed some of the names of the cities that it mentioned, and they are indicated that they're in this area. We don't know exactly where, but they're in that area. And God allowed them to take those from the Amorites and take the cities. Now, a little later on, when Joshua divvies up the land, there's some of the Israelites that stay in this area. Okay? There's 1.5 tribes, I think, that stay here. Maybe 2.5 tribes that stay on this side of the Jordan River, 1.5. But God gave them the victory. They continue to win and continue to grow, continue to get confidence that what God tells them to do, they did. Okay, Brother Everson, 33 to 35 there at the bottom.
And they turned and went into the way of Bashan. And Og, the king of Bashan, went out against him, he and all of his people, to battle at
Edgar, I guess.
Yes. And the Lord said unto Moses, Fear him not, for I have delivered him unto thy hand and all his people and his land, and thou shalt do to him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. They smote him and his sons and all his people until there was none left him alive, and they possessed his land.
So this king saw him. Now, why would you think I guess you think you're the biggest, baddest on the block. You're gonna, you think you can go over to the guy that's coming up. It doesn't happen. God was over these people, and he said, Bashan, he was, says Og was the king of Bashan. This Og, he was 9 cubits tall. He had a bed that was 9 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Now what's a cubit? Do you remember? Cubit's a foot and a half, yeah. From here to here. It's about a foot and a half. So 9 times a foot and a half, that's almost 13 and a half foot bed long. 4 foot wide, so that's 6 foot, almost 6.5 foot wide. So he was a tall guy. He was a big guy. And he thought he was better because him and he probably, a lot of his people, may have been the giants like we have heard of. So they thought they could take these people, and they did. God still, he told them to go take it, and they did, and they'll do just like the king of Zion, just like you did, you can do it to them. And they did, and they took the people, and they took, until there was none left alive, and they possessed his land. They took over his area. Okay? So we're not even into Canaan yet. I mean, God promised them this land, this area, but they're not into the land where they went to spy out, because that's over Jordan. So now we'll jump on to the next one, which continues on the fighting. But we kind of take a side story here with Balak and Balaam. And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side, which is the east side of Jordan, by Jericho. Now, if you look up there, you do see Jericho. See that where the red line ends at the very top?
Yes.
That's Jericho. But they're on the east side of that line. That line that's coming down is Jordan River. That was the dividing line. Okay? So Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many, and Moab was distressed because the children of Israel. And Moab said unto all the elders of Midian, Now shall this company look up all that are round about us, as the ox looketh up the grass of the field. And Balak the son of Zippor was king of the Moabites at the time. Now God had told them, here again, don't go fight the Moabites. Don't, even though they wasn't too happy with you, didn't want you to go through their land or anything like this. We don't, to us, we would call that a country, but it's a bunch of little countries. That's what it was. Each little country, they were, quote, Moabites, but they each may have had their own little king, or each still had their own kingdom. And that's why we keep seeing some of these groups come up. Again, Moabites and Amorites, and they keep, they wiped off all the people that were here in this area and their king. But now they go to another area. But this is one of the Moabites. Okay? Balak was his name. And the people of Moab was sick with dread because the children of Israel. They saw what had happened to the people to the south. They heard they'd come from Egypt. They heard the stories about the rumors, about the plagues and all these things. The sea parted from them. And then they see them just wiping these people out. So they were scared to death. So Balak, instead of fighting, he thought he'd try a different way. Brother Epperson, you'll read the next one on top page 2.
He sent messengers therefore unto Balaam the son of Beor and Petor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, calling, saying, Behold, there is people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come Now therefore I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Peradventure I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wrought that he whom thou blessed is blessed, and he whom thou cursed is cursed.
Okay, now this king is going after this person called Balaam. And a little later on, we kind of see that he's a prophet. He knows about God. I wouldn't say he's a good man, but we'll read about that in just a minute. But he sent representatives down to Balaam, and it was a ways. It doesn't tell us exactly where it's at, but some of the historians think he was further east, maybe even in Iran, what we call Iran, further over east. They sent representatives over there to him. Now he's a little like Melchizedek. In the case, Melchizedek and Jethro. Okay, Melchizedek knew God, Jethro knew God. They served him in their ways. Okay, they weren't quote Jewish that we know of. And Balaam, we don't really know. He says he's the son of Beor. We don't know who Beor is. We don't know a lot about Balaam. Okay, but he knew God. Said Balaam was known as a mighty man in spiritual things as far as Balak was concerned. When Balaam cursed or blessed a man or a people, it came to pass. So they had faith in him that if he cursed the people of Israel, then they could go down and fight him and beat him. So they wanted a little bit of help. That's what they wanted. Okay, Iris, 7 and 8.
And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand, and they came unto Balaam and spake unto him the words of Balaam. And he said unto them, Lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as the Lord shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam.
Now,
Moab.
divination is a diviner speak. That's it'd be like a palm reader today. You go and pay somebody to tell you what's going to happen. Well, here they wanted to go pay him to curse these people, and they go on. Now, if he was, I don't say he's not a true servant of God, but if he knows anything about what's happening in the history of this Jewish people and all this, he wouldn't think twice about trying to curse Israel. But he said, I'll think about it tonight. You stay here, and I'm going to go ask the Lord about it, okay? So that's what he told them. Ruby, the next one, 9 through 12.
9 to 12.
It's right at the bottom.
And God came unto Balaam and said, What men are these with thee? Balaam said unto God, Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab, has sent unto me, saying, Behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covered the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out. And God said unto Balaam, Thou shalt not go out with them, thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed.
Okay? Now you would think when God told him that, he would quit. You know? And he kind of did, okay? But not really. Bertha, read the next one.
And Balak rose up in the morning and said unto the prince of Balak, Get you into your land, for the Lord refuseth to give me leave to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went into Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes more and more honorably than they.
Okay? So Balaam, he kind of put it on God. He didn't say, nope, I'm not going there. I'm not doing that because God told him to. He said, God won't let me do that. You know, kind of like having his palm out, going like this, you know, if you give me a little bit more money, maybe I can be convinced. Well, that's kind of what happened. It says, and they came to Balaam, the additional people. So they got more people, more rulers, more money, and everything, and came to him again. And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me, for I will promote thee unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. So, he may have been a good prophet at one time, but he's kind of turned against, you know, he's getting the big head and he's starting to listen to his own. He thinks he's good. He's not listening to God.
In other words, he thinks he's right.
He thinks he wants some money. He wants some prestige. He wants some power. And he's already told him, I'll give you whatever you want. Whatsoever you want, I'll give it to you.
I'm assuming that's the air conditioner.
That's me. I think the wind blowing on.
Oh.
That's what that little deal keeps from happening. That little, yeah.
Oh, so that's you doing all that?
I'm not doing nothing. The wind's blowing across it.
I thought it was actually the air conditioner.
See? Wind blowing across
Time now.
it. Just get your attention there.
Okay, we got it.
Okay. We're getting close on time, so I'm going to read these. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If you would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. Now therefore I pray you tarry you also here this night, that I may know what the Lord saith to me more. So he didn't say, he just told them, God told me I can't do this, but why don't you stay here? I'll go check with you one more time. Just because he may have made a mistake, okay? And God came unto Balaam at night and said unto him, and God's getting kind of ticked off at him, okay? If the men come to thee, call thee, rise up and go with them. But yet the word which I shall say unto thee, thou shalt do. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. So he told him, you go with them, find out what they want, but don't you say anything, don't you curse it, don't you do anything unless I tell you to do it. Okay? So he woke up and he thought he was happy. Okay, God told me I could go. All right, let's go. But the next verse said, and God's anger was kindled because he went. He'd already told him, don't go. And he goes, well, if you really want to go, there was a temptation there for Balaam to go. God told him you don't want to go. Don't go. But he kind of came back with him and said, I do want to go. You know, that's kind of what he's telling them. So he was kindled again, and the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against Balaam. Now he was riding on his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field, because he could see the angel. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her back into the way. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when again the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn, either to the right hand or the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass again with a staff. So even a dumb donkey knows better than what Balaam was. The donkey was responding to what he saw. So that answers a few questions. Can animals see donkeys? Well, evidently, donkeys. Angels. Evidently they can, because this one did. Now whether God supernaturally let him do like he does us sometimes, I don't know. But this particular one, God could see.
Saying, Balaam, you're stupid.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Because the donkey answered.
So on page 8, it says, And the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hand, for now I would kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was ever I wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Now if a donkey or a dog or anything like that starts talking to me, that's going to be pretty incredible to me. It didn't even faze Balaam that he's talking to his animal, but you know, so the donkey was telling him, no. He didn't tell him that there's an angel standing in front of him. He just said, look, have I ever done you wrong? You rode upon me and I've done all this, and you know, why would you think that I would not want? He's trying to protect him. Okay? So there at the bottom of page 8, then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head, Balaam did, and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me and turned from me these 3 times. Unless she had turned from me, surely now I also would have slain thee and saved her alive. Okay? So God got mad at him as far as he went with them. So he sent him another. So I bet that put the fear in Balaam when he saw that angel. And Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease thee, I will get back thee again. And the angel of the Lord said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. So it just says, I'll go back, you know. If it displeases thee, well, yeah, you're about to get your head chopped off.
God made it pretty clear.
It made it clear that that's not what I wanted you to do. So, okay, you can go, but, you know, I'm here with my sword. You can't say.
How much clearer could you make it?
That's right. So, we go on down to the next page on 10. When Balak heard that Balaam was come, he went out to meet him unto a city of Moab. So Balak actually came out to meet him at the border of Arnon, which is in the utmost coast. And Balak said unto Balaam, Did I not earnestly send unto thee to call thee? Wherefore camest thou not unto me? Am not I able to indeed to promote thee to honor? And Balaam said unto Balak, Lo, I am come unto thee. Have I now any power at all to say anything? The word that God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. And Balaam went to Balak, and they came to Tir-Japhozaph. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam and brought him into the high places of Baal, that thence he might see the uttermost part of the people. So he brought him up so he could see all of Israel, see where they were at, get ready to curse them, okay? And that's where we stop tonight. We'll catch up next week on that period. It continues on in 22 or 23. So
That's pretty sad that he was so stubborn.
Yep.
That he almost got himself killed.
Yeah.
And secondly, that the donkey had a challenge.
Yes, he's just like us.
He is. He's just like us. Now, if you really, we see that in other people too. God, if you really mean this, make this fleece wet on this side and dry on this side. You know, this and that. And have to do it 3 or 4 times. Well, that's not what
rain, so I don't have to water.
Yeah, let's do that one more time. it just kinda goes on and on like that, so. They don't get what they want, so
Don't
they
you
keep
don't
asking.
speak to us.
Well, they don't